Sarah Mitchell had done everything right. Harvard MBA, 8 years at TechVision Solutions, one of Silicon Valley's rising stars in cloud computing. She started as a junior analyst and climbed her way to senior director of operations. Her performance reviews were flawless. Her teams loved her. Her projects generated millions in revenue. She was the kind of employee companies brag about in diversity reports. But Sarah was about to learn a hard truth. Excellence does UNT protect you when prejudice runs deep. It was a Tuesday morning in March when Sarah walked into her manager's office with news she'd been holding close for weeks. She was 12 weeks pregnant. Her first child. She and her husband Marcus had been trying for 2 years. "Congratulations," her manager David said, his smile tight. "That's wonderful news." But something in his eyes didn't match his words. Something cold. Calculating. Sarah noticed it, but brushed it off. She was being paranoid, she told herself. This was 2023. Companies had maternity leave policies, legal protections. She had nothing to worry about. She was wrong. Within a week, the changes began. Subtle at first. Her weekly one-on-one meetings with David were suddenly rescheduled, then cancelled altogether. The leadership strategy sessions she'd been leading for 3 years. Her name was quietly removed from the invite list. When she asked David about it, he smiled that same tight smile. "We're just streamlining things, Sarah. Don't take it personally." But it felt personal. Very personal. By her 16th week of pregnancy, Sarah's responsibilities had been quietly redistributed. The multi-million-dollar client account she'd managed for 5 years, reassigned to a white male colleague with half her experience. Her direct reports moved to other teams without explanation. In the break room one afternoon, Sarah overheard 2 executives talking. She wasn't supposed to hear it. "I just don't think she is going to have the same commitment once the baby comes," one of them said. "You know how it is." Sarah's blood ran cold. She stood frozen, her hand on the coffee pot, listening. "David's handling it," the other replied. Quietly, "HR's on board." That night, Sarah went home and told Marcus everything. He was a corporate attorney, and his face darkened as she spoke. "Start documenting everything," he said. "Every meeting, every email, every conversation. If they're building a case against you, you need to build one right back." Sarah didn't want to believe it had come to this. But deep down, she knew Marcus was right. So she started keeping records. Screenshots of emails, notes from meetings, dates and times of every interaction. She forwarded sensitive emails to her personal account. She recorded conversations where legally permitted. She was preparing for war, even though she prayed it wouldn't come to that. But at TechVision Solutions, the wheels were already in motion, and Sarah Mitchell was running out of time. By her 24th week of pregnancy, Sarah's position at TechVision had become almost unrecognizable. The woman who once led cross-functional teams and presented quarterly results to the board was now excluded from nearly every major decision. Her calendar, once packed with high-level meetings, was now filled with administrative tasks that junior employees could handle. It was humiliating. Deliberate. In May, Sarah requested a meeting with David to address what was happening. She came prepared with specific examples, documented patterns, a clear case that she was being sidelined. David listened with that practiced corporate empathy, nodding at all the right moments. "Sarah, I hear you," he said. "But you have to understand, we're restructuring. It's not about you. It's about the business." "Then why am I the only director being restructured?" Sarah asked, her voice steady, despite the anger building inside her. "My performance reviews are excellent. My projects are profitable. What's the real reason, David?" His expression hardened. "I don't appreciate the implication. And I don't appreciate being pushed out because I'm pregnant." The words hung in the air between them. David stood up, signaling the meeting was over. "I think you're being overly sensitive," he said. "Maybe the pregnancy hormones are affecting your judgment." Sarah felt the rage flash through her, but she kept her face neutral. She'd expected this. The gaslighting. She'd seen it happen to other women, other people of color in corporate America. But hearing it directed at her, seeing the contempt barely hidden behind David's professional mascot, clarified everything. This wasn't paranoia. This was discrimination, calculated and deliberate. That evening, Sarah met with Marcus and showed him everything she'd compiled. Emails where David questioned her long-term commitment, messages between executives, discussing her changing priorities, a pattern of projects being reassigned the moment her pregnancy became visible. Marcus read through it all, his lawyer brain processing the evidence. "This is textbook pregnancy discrimination," he said. Possibly racial discrimination too. Given the comments about cultural fit and team dynamics, you have a strong case, Sarah. But if you're going to fight this, you need to be ready for it to get ugly. Sarah placed her hand on her growing belly. She thought about the baby girl she was carrying, the world she wanted her daughter to grow up in. I'm ready, she said. But here's the question I want to ask you. What would you do if you were in Sarah's position right now? Would you stay quiet and take the severance when it comes? Or would you fight back, knowing it could destroy your career reputation in the industry? Let me know in the comments below. June arrived, and with it came Sarah's 32nd week of pregnancy. She was visibly showing now, and the discomfort in the office was palpable. Colleagues who once chatted with her in the hallways now avoided eye contact. Invitations to team lunches stopped coming. Sarah felt invisible, erased. And then, on a Thursday afternoon, she received a calendar invitation that made her stomach drop. Meeting with David and HR urgent. She knew what was coming, but knowing didn't make it any easier. The conference room on the 14th floor had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay. On any other day, Sarah might have appreciated the view. Today, she barely noticed it. David sat across from her, flanked by two HR representatives Sarah had never met before. That was intentional, she realized. Bringing in strangers meant no personal connection, no hesitation. The head HR rep, a woman named Jennifer, with perfectly styled blonde hair and a rehearsed sympathetic expression, slid a folder across the table. Sarah, we want to thank you for your 8 years of service to TechVision, Jennifer began, her voice smooth and corporate. Unfortunately, due to organizational restructuring and budgetary constraints, we've made the difficult decision to eliminate your position effective immediately. Sarah's heart pounded, but her voice came out calm. My position is being eliminated, or I'm being terminated. The position is being eliminated, Jennifer repeated, emphasizing each word carefully. Legal language, scripted, and who will be handling my responsibilities? A brief pause. David shifted in his seat. Those functions will be distributed among existing team members, Jennifer said. Sarah opened her notebook, the one where she'd been documenting everything for months. So my position is being eliminated, but the work I do isn't going anywhere. It's just being given to other people. Is that correct? Jennifer's smile tightened. We're streamlining operations, I see. Sarah flipped to a marked page. Can you explain why, in the past 4 months, I've been removed from every major project, excluded from leadership meetings, and had my responsibilities systematically reassigned, all of which began exactly 1 week after I announced my pregnancy? The room went silent. David's face flushed red. Sarah, that's a serious accusation, he said. It's a serious pattern, Sarah replied. She pulled out printed emails, highlighted and dated. March 15th, removed from the Global Tech account. March 22nd, excluded from quarterly strategy planning. April 3rd, team reassignment. April 8th, we don't need to go through this, Jennifer interrupted, her professional mask slipping for just a moment. You're being offered a generous severance package. 6 months salary, continued health benefits, and a strong reference letter. That's more than generous. Sarah looked at the severance agreement. Buried in the legal language was a clause she'd expected, a non-disparagement agreement and a full release of all claims against the company. They wanted her silence. They were paying for it. I need time to review this with my attorney, Sarah said. David's jaw clenched. Sarah, don't make this more difficult than it needs to be. She stood up, 8 months pregnant, her hand instinctively moving to her belly. I'll have my answer by Monday. As she walked out of that conference room for the last time, Sarah felt the weight of what was about to happen. She wasn't going to sign. She wasn't going to stay quiet. She was going to war. Thank you so much for sticking with this story. I know it's heavy. I know it's painful to hear about injustice like this. But trust me, the best parts are still coming. Sarah's fight is just beginning, and what happens next will restore your faith that sometimes justice actually wins. Sarah didn't sign the severance agreement. Instead, she hired Patricia Chen, one of the most aggressive employment discrimination attorneys in California. Patricia had a reputation. She didn't settle unless her clients got everything they deserved. Their first meeting was in Patricia's downtown San Francisco office, 3 days after Sarah's termination. Tell me everything, Patricia said, pen ready. Sarah laid out the evidence, the emails, the witness statements from colleagues who'd seen the discrimination firsthand, the documented timeline showing the direct correlation between her pregnancy announcement and her professional dismantling. Patricia reviewed it all with the focused intensity of a surgeon examining X-ray. This is one of the clearest cases of pregnancy discrimination I've seen in 15 years, she said finally. Combined with the racial elements, the cultural fit comments, the pattern of promoting white employees over you, despite your superior performance, we have a devastating case. What are our chances? Sarah asked. Patricia looked her directly in the eye. If we go to trial, I'd say 80% chance of winning. But Sarah, you need to understand what you're signing up for. TechVision has unlimited legal resources. They'll drag this out for years. They'll try to destroy your credibility. They'll make you relive every painful moment of this experience over and over again. And even if we win, it won't erase what they did to you. Sarah felt her daughter kick inside her, a small reminder of why this mattered. I'm not doing this just for me, she said. I am doing this for every black woman who has been pushed out of a company while pregnant. For everyone who's been told they're too sensitive or not a cultural fit. I want them to pay for what they did. Not just with money, with accountability. Patricia smiled. Then let's make them pay. The lawsuit was filed in August, 2 weeks after Sarah gave birth to her daughter, Maya. The complaint was 37 pages of meticulously documented discrimination, retaliation, and wrongful termination. TechVision's response was immediate and predictable. They denied everything. Called Sarah's claims baseless and inflammatory. Painted her as a disgruntled employee who couldn't handle the demands of her position. They offered a settlement, $400,000 and a mutual non-disclosure agreement. Patricia brought the offer to Sarah. It's insultingly low, but it would be over. You could move on. Sarah was nursing Maya when Patricia told her. She looked down at her daughter's face, so small and perfect and trusting. No, Sarah said. We go to trial. The discovery phase was brutal. TechVision's lawyers deposed Sarah for 16 hours over 3 days, trying to find inconsistencies, trying to rattle her. They questioned her competence, her commitment, her credibility. But Sarah had prepared for this. She stayed calm. She stuck to the facts. And then Patricia's team found the smoking gun in a batch of internal emails that TechVision was legally required to turn over. There it was, a message thread between David and 2 other executives. Sent 3 days after Sarah announced her pregnancy. David, we need to start transitioning Sarah's accounts. Once she's on maternity leave, she's not coming back with the same focus. Executive 1, agreed. Let's move her to lower visibility projects. Gradually. Executive 2, do we need to loop in HR? David, already have. We're documenting performance concerns now. Gives us coverage if she pushes back. Patricia read it aloud in her office, her voice barely containing her fury. They planned this. From day one. This isn't just discrimination, Sarah. This is conspiracy. Sarah felt vindicated and sickened at the same time. She'd known, but seeing it in writing, seeing the casual cruelty, the calculated destruction of her career, it was almost unbearable. Can we use this at trial? She asked. Patricia smiled like a wolf. Oh, we're using this everywhere. The jury is going to see exactly who these people are. TechVision made one more settlement offer, $2 million. No admission of guilt. Full non-disclosure. Take it, some of Sarah's friends urged. $2 million is life-changing money. But Sarah had seen the emails. She knew that if she took the settlement and stayed quiet, TechVision would do this to someone else. And that person might not have the evidence, might not have the resources to fight back. We're going to trial, Sarah told Patricia. Good, Patricia said. Because I want to destroy them. The trial began on a cold February morning, 14 months after Sarah's termination. The federal courthouse in San Francisco was imposing, all marble and authority. Sarah sat at the plaintiff's table, her hands folded, her expression calm. Across the aisle, TechVision's legal team's 6 attorneys in expensive suits reviewed their notes with practiced confidence. They thought they were going to win. They had no idea what was coming. Patricia's opening statement was surgical. She walked the jury through Sarah's career, her accomplishments, her unblemished record. Then she showed them the timeline. Pregnancy announcement, followed by immediate and systematic exclusion, followed by termination. This isn't complicated, Patricia told the jury. Sarah Mitchell was fired because she was pregnant and black, and the evidence will prove it beyond any doubt. TechVision's attorney painted a different picture. A struggling employee who couldn't adapt to changing business needs, who played the race and pregnancy card when she couldn't keep up. But then the evidence came in, email after email showing the conspiracy. Witness testimony from former TechVision employees who'd seen the discrimination firsthand. Expert analysis showing that Sarah's performance reviews were statistically superior to the white male employees who replaced her. And then Patricia played her ace. She put David on the stand. Under cross-examination, David crumbled. He contradicted himself. He claimed not to remember emails he'd written. He insisted Sarah's pregnancy was a factor, while simultaneously admitting she was going to have different priorities as a new mother. Patricia destroyed him with his own words. Mr. Reynolds, you wrote in an email that Sarah would not come back with the same focus after maternity leave. Is that correct? That was taken out of context. It's a yes or no question. Did you write those words? Yes, but, and 3 weeks later, you began documenting performance concerns about Sarah that had never existed in her 8-year tenure. Correct? David's lawyer objected, but the damage was done. The jury saw everything. The trial lasted 9 days. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they returned, the forewoman stood and read the verdict. We find in favor of the plaintiff, Sarah Mitchell, on all counts: pregnancy discrimination, racial discrimination, wrongful termination, retaliation. Sarah felt tears streaming down her face. Marcus squeezed her hand, but the forewoman wasn't finished. We award compensatory damages in the amount of $1.2 million and punitive damages in the amount of $3.5 million. Total award, $4.7 million. The courtroom erupted. TechVision's attorneys looked stunned. Patricia smiled. Sarah just closed her eyes and breathed. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Sarah gave a brief statement, holding Maya in her arms. This wasn't just about me, she said. This was about every woman of color who's been told she doesn't belong, who's been pushed out for being pregnant, for speaking up, for demanding what she's earned. I hope this verdict sends a message. We won't stay silent anymore. And there are consequences for discrimination. The verdict made national headlines. TechVision's stock dropped 12%. 3 executives, including David, were forced to resign. The company's reputation in the industry was shattered. But for Sarah, the money and the vindication weren't the most important part. 2 months after the verdict, she received an email from a young black woman who'd been facing similar discrimination at her company. The woman had been afraid to speak up, afraid she'd lose everything. But I saw what you did, the email read, and it gave me courage. I filed a complaint with HR today. Thank you for showing me that fighting back is possible. Sarah printed that email and put it on her desk, next to Maya's first picture. Because that, more than the millions, more than the headlines, was why she'd fought. To prove that justice, sometimes, actually wins. Sarah Mitchell didn't accept being silenced. She fought. She documented. She took them to trial and she won. Not just for herself, but for every woman who's faced discrimination and been told to stay quiet. What would you have done in her position? Would you have taken the settlement or fought for the public trial? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story impacted you, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Every week, we bring you true stories of injustice, betrayal, and the moments when justice finally prevails. The next video is already waiting for you on the screen. Thank you for watching.